I got a shout out, a friend of mine. His name's Tristan. He's doing a lot of tournaments and he's starting to get his feet wet. He did a super fight. He won $100. He's killing it. And he asked me a question that I feel like I'm not really equipped to answer. And so I figured I'd like throw it to you because I think it's a distinction that it might be cool to explore, maybe more on another episode. But what would you consider old school jiu-jitsu?
Oh, geez.
And that's it for today, everybody.
I mean, in what context? As a competitor or just in general, old school jiu-jitsu? Because you started off in one frame of reference. So
Yeah.
you just said that he is a competitor, and his particular question is, what is old school jiu-jitsu?
Well, the lead up was that he's worried that like he knows that there's always new things coming out.
Yeah.
And so he's doing a lot of leg
Yeah.
attacks. He's learning
Yeah.
a lot of De La Hiva and a lot of
Yeah.
the stuff that gets played now.
Yeah.
Barambolo. He does mainly no-gi, so he doesn't need to worry about worm guard. And he's worried that, in the way he's learning, he's missing some of like the big basics.
Yeah.
And he's wondering, like, A, does he need to go to more old school stuff to really get a better view of jiu-jitsu as a whole? And also, what does that mean? He's kind of being vague about it.
That is a big question, but because the viewer asked, I will get into it now for a few seconds, but I'm not going to get too far into it because I'm fucking tired. So what I always notice is this, and what I notice about jiu-jitsu in general is this, is that competition jiu-jitsu typically has its fads. We had, before the big boom, we had deep half guard. That was kind of a thing for a little bit. Then we had like X guard. That was kind of a thing for a little bit. The fad that hasn't quit for a while has been leg locks, right? Everything was leg locks. Now everything is attacking, countering the leg locks, moving to the back, and leg locks lingered for a long, long time. What I will always say is that the nuts and bolts of what make jiu-jitsu great are always there. You can always win a fight with shoulder pressure. You can always win a fight with a good solid base. You can always win a fight with wrestling. The 101s are always going to get you there. Now, however, the 101s will only get you so far. You have to have an understanding of all the other eccentric nuances of jiu-jitsu, novelties of jiu-jitsu, because you have to know them. Even if you don't know them to implement them, you have to be able to recognize them to be able to be an effective grappler in the modern game. But you talk about what old school grappling is. You talk about having a solid base, being very difficult to pass or sweep. One of the things I always tell my new grapplers and my students is that when you're in a top position, yeah, your primary objective is always going to be passing the guard to advance positional dominance. That's the other thing, working up the pyramid of jiu-jitsu's dominance, positional dominance. When you're in somebody's guard, your primary goal is to pass the guard to work up that pyramid of dominance. But however, if you get swept or submitted, none of that shit matters anymore. So number one, you can't get swept or submitted, and you do that by having a solid base. You do that by shutting down your opponent's guard and shutting down their ability to use that guard by finding grips and using pressure or whatever you do to keep that from happening. And, what I've always noticed, the guys that are really, really the best grapplers in the world now, it's starting to come back to what jiu-jitsu's fundamentals are, which is advancing positional dominance. You start from the feet. The guy who gets the takedown wins because now why? Because now you're not on your feet anymore. So now you're on top. Now you work to pass the guard, or you pull guard and you sweep, whatever. Right. But you use what jiu-jitsu's fundamentals are, advancing position until you get to the point where you're on the back, because we start talking about the positional dominance is in place for a reason, because every step up that ladder, your opponent has less and less options to attack. Therefore, your ability to finish theoretically becomes higher. If you want to use a poker analogy, you can say this. You know what I mean? Yeah. When you're attacking a leg lock from the guard, theoretically, your opponent still has options. So yeah, maybe you're rolling the dice with that suited connectors. Maybe you're playing like 7, 9 diamonds or something like that. Now you can win with 7, 9 diamonds, right? But you sure as fuck are going to win more pots when you play kings. And you're playing kings when you pass the guard, you get to the mount. And when you pass the guard, you get the side mount. Yeah, you can go for that fucking Kimura from that position. You go for fucking the Americana from that position, but you're playing pocket eights. You're not playing a high premium hand from there. Yeah, you can do that. But the good money, the strong money goes into passing the guard and taking them out, which is why you get more points for extending up the ladder of progressions, right? Then you eventually, when you're on the back, you're playing aces because your opponent theoretically has little to no offense and you are in complete dominance over them because their back is to you, right? Now that is, when we talk about going against an unskilled opponent, that's the only thing that matters. Just going at that position with dominance. You're not sitting back for a fucking leg lock in a self-defense situation. Maybe you are, I don't know. But I'm not sitting on a fucking mount. I'm going to the back because that's what jiu-jitsu is founded on. That's the fundamentals of what jiu-jitsu is. Jiu-jitsu at its core is a martial art. So I guess when you talk about, and this is the things that I teach, these are the credos that I teach. Yes, you can go for cool submissions all the way across, all the way up that ladder. You can hit leg locks from the guard. You can hit a submission from any one of those positions. However, when you keep to the script and you continue working up that positional dominance, your ability to finish will increase significantly. And your jiu-jitsu will start to get better. And it's jiu-jitsu that is universally applicable. It's the same jiu-jitsu that works in MMA. It's the same jiu-jitsu that works in self-defense. And it's the same jiu-jitsu that works in sport jiu-jitsu. That's just my philosophy on that. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question?
I heard leg locks suck and gambling's good. So
gambling's good.
No, hey,
get better at the casino,
that's
kids.
The answer. I think that's the answer a lot of people might have needed to hear who are, in different stages of their journey and wondering, do I just, buy the new leg lock DVD and just focus on that, or maybe brush up on the.
Well, I mean, if you watch the new school of jiu-jitsu, the Roberto Jimenez's, the John Combs's, the fucking William Tackett's, the guys out there now, the fucking Hillbilly Hammer, the guys out there now that are lighting it up, that are the young bucks that have been training since kids. All of them have ridiculously solid fundamentals. All of them understand how to pass the guard. All of them understand how to work up because they've been training. Now we're looking at kids now that have been training from 8, 9 years old. They're not teaching fucking 8-year-olds how to do fucking inside heel hooks. You know what I'm talking? Maybe they are. I don't know. They're teaching them basic fundamental 101 jiu-jitsu, probably in the gi. You know what I mean? So they're learning those fundamentals and then they're learning to compete and they're learning, okay, cool. These are the fun little things I can sprinkle in, but them son of a bitches still know how to pass the guard. They still know how to take them out. They know how to take the back and they can finish you from all of those places. And they have their little creative bells and whistles, but the fundamentals now that are really working at the highest levels, you can't be a one-trick pony anymore. It just doesn't happen. You can't just be the leg lock guy. You kind of can be the leg lock guy, but you have to know everything because people know how to defend leg locks now. So you have to be able to incorporate other parts of your game because now your leg lock game opens up.
Case in point, there were a lot of rear naked chokes towards the finals and semifinals of ADCC.
Everything now is going back to the back attacks.
Yeah, back attacks were big this year.
Everything now is counters off of leg locks into back attacks or working your way into the back, especially in the ADCC. That's everything in the ADCC.
Yeah.
Takedowns and back attacks because you pass the guard, people turn when you